All right, back again, taking the end of the live. So, last time I saw you guys, I was somewhere else. I was somewhere new. And now we're back here in my bedroom. I hope it's not too loud today because I have quite a few stories to tell. My mic seems to be reading okay, but if anybody pops in and you can't hear, please let me know. Maybe I'll turn it up slightly, just in case. Okay. So, last you saw me, I'm going to double check. Okay, sounds good. I was actually at a hotel last you saw me. And today I have decided that I was feeling a little bit stressed about talking to you guys and telling this story because I just wasn't really sure if I would remember it all because last weekend was quite the whirlwind. I just needed to do it, but I when I got home, I was afraid I would sound a little bit too loopy if I told you right when I got back. I just felt like I would probably forget things. So I was like, well, I'll sleep on it and then I'll do it. And then I got caught up with all of my work this week. But here we are, 1 week later, with a full scoop for you. And today I am having a beer to kind of take some of the edge off. I was just feeling a little nervous about talking to you guys today. I don't know why. But look what it is. It's peas and cream. Look how cute that art is, too. Yeah. I saw this one and I immediately was like, ooh, that's the one I need to try. Because what I like to do is at the store, you've probably seen this where you can kind of pick a variety. So that's what I like to do, and that's what I did. I picked a few different kinds because I just like to try new beers. Since alcohol doesn't sit super great with my tummy these days, I try to keep it a little bit chill. Beer will do me good. And this is peaches and cream, wheat ale with peach flavor and milk sugar. All right, so uh, where to begin? We begin at the beginning of the plan. So I actually wanted to go on this trip a couple of weeks ago, but then a client didn't pay me, and I mean, I was fine. I could have still gone, but there was a part of me that was anxious about that, and just a few other factors all kind of smacked. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'll just see how this goes. I'll try again next weekend. And as soon as I got paid, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I've been sitting in my room alone for a year. I could really stand to get out there a little bit, because that's one thing is love a good adventure. That's why I went out of my way to get involved into events in my city, get involved with events in my city. Just because that way, when I was going to work, it was like going to a fun adventure every day. And I haven't had that in a while, which I needed a break, but now I'm ready to try again. So I just bought this cheap hotel room just because I just that was the thing is I wanted to stay in a different room for a night because I love my room, but I've been in here for a long time lately. Can you hear my neighbor? He turned on the music. Hopefully that's not too obnoxious for us. It's funny because it was totally silent until, of course, I started setting up all of my lighting and microphone, and then all of a sudden, isn't that how it goes? But um, I just got this. I went back and forth about how nice of a hotel I wanted to do, but I was like, you know what? Where I went, by the way, is Nevada, specifically Wendover, Nevada, just because I've never been before. And it's one of those destinations that people from my city and Utah, my slice of the world, it's just one of those little weekend getaway things that you go, and you can go there and, get your weed and your liquor and run back to God's nation, God's holy land of the Utah. Of so that's basically what it's been known as, or what I knew it as growing up, is just like this little place you could just hop over the border and have a little fun that you can't really have in Mormontown. So, although that's kind of different now, things are a lot different here in Utah these days, particularly Salt Lake City. So, it's not quite the same that it was. So, I've never been, and I just decided that I was like, you know what? It's only a few hours away. It's technically in another state. Um, it'll kind of get me going. And so I really hope you guys can't hear that, but if you can, that's okay. Oh, jeez. But so I went back and forth, and I decided that I wanted to do this hotel. Maybe I shouldn't. I won't say the name. I don't know, just in case. I don't know. They see it and it hurts their feelings or something. But I went to a little divey hotel. The reason that I picked it is because it was like $100 cheaper than the other ones that I was thinking of going to. And in the picture, it looked really charming and cute. It had this kind of 90s charm to it. It had these cute green wiggly lamps in the photo. And honestly, that was half of the selling point for me. And I'm not even exaggerating when I say that. Like, I was so excited to see those lamps in person. I was going to take some pictures with those lamps, and I was going to maybe do some aesthetic shots. I had some plans for those lamps, but alas, if you saw my last live stream, I was actually in the room. When I was actually in the hotel room, then you can see that there were no wiggly lamps, unfortunately. I wouldn't be surprised if, I'm sure that the photos of the room must have been years and years old, because, yeah, the room was not looking so fresh when I got in there. I'll tell you that much. So, I picked the hotel, and a couple days beforehand, and then the day of, I was finishing up some work. I finished up some projects, and then I was like, all right, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna go for a drive. And then I got this kooky idea where I was like, you know what else we need? A new CD. And I was like, do they even sell CDs in the store? And I was like, I really doubt it. But I was like, okay, I'm going to go see if I can find like a fun CD. And I thought it would just be kind of a fun, nostalgic road trip moment. But really, that ended up being kind of an erroneous uh, task, if I do say so myself. Because then I just ended up running around to a few different stores, just being like, trying to look for a CD, a specific CD that I kind of knew they wouldn't probably have it anywhere. But I was like, Maybe they do. Or maybe they'll have something else recent and new that would be kind of fun to just listen to. I don't know. In the end, it was a huge waste of time, but I did get snacks and other supplies, so that was good. So after my way too long run, because the thing is like one of the stores was specifically an electronic store. They actually have, you know, albums there. I don't know. They might have the latest 2021 albums from various artists. And it was so ridiculous because seriously, I only went there because I was gonna just go on my trip, but I was like, you know what? Let's go there. Let's stop there first. And it's only 5 minutes from where I'm at. Why not? And I'm not even joking. As I went up there, I got caught in this crazy, just cluster mess of a traffic thing. And this 5 minute drive up the road turned into a 20-minute drive up the road. And I really regretted it. But I don't know. It was kind of funny. I wonder if maybe it was good for me to get more of an evening drive, maybe. I don't know. So I got all my supplies, got everything together, and then I was like, "All right, we're going, we're driving." Oh, also before I went, I actually arranged for an oil change. I was going to do an oil change with. There's this cute little car clinic right around the corner from where I live. Actually, it's got this, you know, nice older gentleman that runs it, or did, is the thing. Because interesting timing is when I called. Um, he was like, "Oh yeah, well I'm actually retiring, so I'm not taking any more clients." And I was like, "Oh." I had gone to him and had different um, repairs and things like that in the past. And I was actually kind of sad. I was like, oh, kind of kicking myself a little bit that I didn't try to get in a couple weeks earlier. But it sounds like everybody was trying to get in last minute oil changes from him. So probably good that I didn't try to add myself to that list. Probably would have been a little bit stressful because he's a really nice dude and he was really helpful. And I brought milk and cookies one time, or was it donuts? It was either donuts or cookies. I can't remember which it was. Just to say thanks. And they were really nice. Just little car clinic, local dudes, real cool. So sad tales that got shut down. But that morning, you know what I had instead? Have you ever had your oil change come to you? I never had. But turns out it probably happened just over the course of the pandemic. There's this mobile service where they do like mobile oil changes. So I was like, whoa, what is this? And let me tell you, most painless oil change experience I've ever had. Because really, I was dreading going and making it a whole thing and either having to sit there or figure something out. But they just came to me and I didn't even talk to them at all. It was all no contact since they've been making popular with the COVID. And it was the most painless oil change I've ever had in my life. And I was like, wow, this is the future, guys. This is the future. So got my car freshly oil changed up while I was finishing my work, and then headed on out after my useless um, store adventures. Well, not totally useless. I did get some snacks, but I finally was off. And yeah, basically, it's pretty much just a long straight drive for a couple of hours from where I started. So, what I ended up doing is I actually had a CD mix that I made. I know, ridiculous. Um, last year I made a CD mix just because the thing is I don't really keep music on my phone and I don't really have an MP3 player because well, I do have an MP3 player. I have a Zune, but like that's that's not really helpful or doesn't, honestly, it barely works these days anyways. So that's all I have because I mostly just stream stuff. But when I'm like driving and I don't want to use like the Wi-Fi or I don't want to use up all my data, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So I was like, well, that's why I wanted to do CDs, is because I just didn't want to use up all my data. So I had this CD mix from last year when I went camping to see the comet, when I probably shouldn't have, but I did anyway. And I don't regret it. It was good. It was nice. I needed it. It was a beautiful, very isolated, very distanced sort of trip, and the only one that I took last year. But so it's been that, and that's the last time I ever was like out with people like doing things. Uh, and anyways, so I had a CD mix that I actually created for that trip, because I knew there would be portions where there like wouldn't even be Wi-Fi or radio and stuff. And so I just made a mix of songs that I was into at the time. And so I really re-listened to that on my drive there. And oh boy, let me tell you, it was a different experience than last year. I was like, holy cow, I'm in such a different place than I was last year. And like I was enjoying the music and everything, but I was just thinking about the ideas that were going through my head as I was listening to them. And I really am just in a whole different place now than I was. So it was almost a little bit painful, to be honest. It wasn't entirely a pleasant experience, to be honest. Uh, but it was fun though. It was fun to be like, ooh, what was I rocking out to this time ish last year? Uh, really, I guess next month it would have been a year exactly. But yeah. I actually liked the flow of the mix that I made though. I appreciated it because I kind of forgot all the songs that I put on it, but then by the end I was like, oh yeah, I see the thematics that I played out, because it kind of played out where at the beginning it was almost like a little bit of like a romancy theme or something, where at the beginning it was almost like this heartbreaky, I don't know, moving on, badass monsters vibe. And then I like kind of moved into like this sort of healing phase, of the romance. And then it took on a little bit of like this nostalgic, sad moment at the end before like bringing it right back down around to the front. So it was fun for me to listen to that again and have that journey. Um, uh, so listen to that on the drive there. And there was this moment on the drive, where it was dark and I was driving, and there's just these salt plains. There's just these plains of salt, salt flats, salt plains. But there's this one section. Remember this for the future, because there's a magical moment towards the end of this story where it will come into play, where all of a sudden the flats burst into just, where it's just flat across the fields, just this shallow glass of just water, and the moon and the light is just shining, and it's got this almost eerie, almost like spooky esque sort of quality, very uh, like a fog, that sort of quality, like a fog in the water. And it was just this most beautiful, as there wasn't really too many people on the road. It was mostly just me. And there was just seeing the light glinting off of these eerie little waves. And it really made an impact on me. Just this sudden contrast of just the dry flats with the sudden waves of unexpected water as far as the eye could see. And anyway, I continued driving, and made my way into the city. Now it's funny because I'd never been before, but a friend of mine had told me not to get too excited. That really Wendover's not really much to look at, and I did give a little Google Maps like ground level walkthrough preview just to see what I was getting into before I got there, just out of curiosity. And you know, I'd say the experience in person was much nicer than the Google Maps version. I'll give it that. Maybe also because I arrived at night. I'm actually glad that I arrived at night rather than um, in the afternoon, because it created a much more magical sensation, seeing all the lights and everything lit up than I think it would have otherwise, on the casinos and all that, than it would have in the day. And um, so I drive in and I can see my hotel coming up, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what their policy is. And so I just plop my mask on and I go check in. And really nice guy. He was kind of they were doing the thing where there's like that screen, you know what I'm saying? There's like that plastic screen. And so it was like he had a mask like hanging under his chin and like the screen. And it was weird because like I was just kind of like, okay, I don't know. And then he told me that he was like, I don't know if he saw my vaccination card or what, but he was like, oh, just so you know, you guys are allowed to not wear masks in the city. And like some guy walked in behind me without one on, and then he saw I was wearing one, and it's like a weird scenario. I did want to talk about this because I do think that it's kind of interesting to watch. I think it's an interesting thing to navigate. And he did tell me that there was no breakfast because online it said that they had breakfast, but only coffee. And I was like, that's okay. I didn't even have any coffee because like I didn't need their coffee. I had my own energy drink anyway. But yeah, so I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. That's exciting. And then I almost felt awkward where I was like, should I be wearing my mask right now? Should I not be? Am I being a dweeb? I don't know. I saw a funny post the other day that does kind of mirror kind of how I've been feeling, where it's kind of like, do I wear do I not wear a mask because I am vaccinated, or do do I keep wearing a mask so that I don't look like a Republican? And that was kind of the dilemma. No offense to Republicans, I'm friends with plenty of them, but it's like that's kind of like how I was feeling too. It's just like, and it's funny because it's like the two have become kind of the one in a way. I'll go over that a little bit further in a moment. Um, so it takes him a minute to like log me in, and I get this big old line of just like gruff looking dude. There's just me at the table, and I'm just like, oh, this place is so cute. Oh, I like your fireplace, and I'm just like, yada, yada, yada. And then there's just this line of gruff looking dudes just lined up behind me. And he's just, and it's taking forever. And I'm just like, oh man, sorry guys. And so finally get me checked in. I find my room, and couldn't get the door open at first. Luckily, I got that figured out. And I walk in, and immediately I see there are no squiggly green lamps here. And I was much disappointed. But I get in and I put my stuff down, and immediately the thing that I notice is I'm like this overwhelming scent. Like it's the scent where it's like they're trying a little too hard to make it smell clean without it actually like being all that clean, if you know what I mean. It's like they just took some very strong, it's like they just took cleanser, like Lysol eau de perfume, and just like crop dusted the room real quick with it, real heavy. It was probably the least favorite aspect of that entire room. And there were many least favorite aspects, but the smell was probably the hardest one to deal with for me because it was just so overpowering, just this nasty, sort of lemony, sort of just really, it was an oppressive scent, is what I would call that smell. And so I get in and I'm just like putting all my stuff down and I'm like, well, I want to go. I'm like, well, before I go to bed, I want to go maybe check out a couple casinos and get some food. That was my plan. It was about 10 o'clock when I arrived. So I was just like, yeah, that'll be about perfect. Take a couple hours, just sit down, get some grub, go to bed. Wake up, do the rest of my plans. So I so I go to the shower and I'm gonna go shower, and I get in there and I'm just like, oh no, man. There's just like this medium longish black, just thick black hairs just stuck all over like the shower curtain and parts of the tub, and there's weird crack hole things in the ceiling, and it's kind of leaky, and I turn it on and yeah, it's just kind of leaky and sad, and the black hairs are just, I try to wipe them up and I feel like I'm gonna vomit. And I'm just like, you know what? Screw this shower, never mind. We are not showering in this shower this weekend. And that was the I was just like, nope, 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 no. So I actually ended up showering in the freaking sink, which I had already done that morning because they randomly shut off the water without giving us advanced warning. They just like stuck a thing on my neighbors on the downstairs, not even like anybody else's door, but just their door that morning. And then I texted them and I was like, oh man, is your guys' water off? And they were like, yeah, we don't know what's going on. And then they're like, oh wait, we have this on our door. They must have just put that on there this morning. Thanks for the warning, guys. So anyways, I already didn't have a shower that day. I just kind of poured bottles of water on myself that morning in the sink. And so that night I just continued the sink shower trend. And then I went and hit the town. There was one, I went to the Rainbow Casino because that one, for some reason, that one was just singing to me. And so I drove up to the casino, and I wasn't really sure where to park. And I was just like, well, you know what? I'm going to try see if I can find a spot right as close to the door as I can. I was like, that's my goal. I'm just going to find a door or a spot as close to the main entrance as possible. And so I'm driving around, and I'm like, man, this is pretty full, I wonder if I'm going to find a spot. And then there, bing, 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 I got the most perfect spot, you guys. It was like right in front of the door. It was like 3 rows back, right in front of the main entrance. It was perfect. And I was just like, yes, because I almost parked way across the lot. I was so glad that I listened to myself, and I went and I got the best spot in the house almost. And anyways, so I went in. I originally had my mask on because I just wasn't sure if there was going to be I wasn't sure what it was going to be like, I wasn't sure if they were going to have a little check-in station or check your temperature or what's it. But I walk in there, and there's signage all up by the doors saying, that if you are fully vaccinated, you are not required to wear a mask in the casino. And at that point, I walked in and I saw that the lion's share of people were, in fact, not wearing masks. So I was like, well, I'm vaccinated, so why not? I mean, I'm not worried about any potential contaminants in the air. Not that I was entirely concerned before, but a healthy level of concern. A healthy level of concern. And so I take my mask off, and there was just like this weird kind of exhilaration, honestly, like seeing all of the people just kind of without their masks on, just acting all like normal. And here is the moment where the two become the one, as I say, because I'm looking around, and it's not like they're checking for cards. It's kind of like an honor system sort of thing. And so, because of this, I love this. And it's this way in the grocery store now, too. I love this, where the dissenters and like the ones who are just saying no, and the ones who have said yes to the vaccine are now both the same people. They appear the same. So it's both people who refuse to wear masks and refuse to get back the vaccine, and people who do get the vaccine are now the same looking people. And I love that personally. I think that's very thrilling. Um, because I'm walking around and I'm looking at everybody and I'm like, are you vaccinated? Are you? And I'm like, who knows? Who cares? I'm not me. This is awesome. And I just loved that there's been this almost like sides battle with the masks, Well, there has been a sides battle, not almost, there has been a sides battle with the mask. And this moment in time has created a disbursement of that, where the two opposites look the same. And I love that. That's a bit of a paradoxical thing. That's the familiar and the unfamiliar coming together, if ever I do say so myself. That paradox point at the moment where the two opposites meet. So, anyways, I've got to say, it was just packed. There's just all of these lights and ding, 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 smoke, lot drinks, just people, all these just like people everywhere. And I'm just walking, honestly, one of my favorite things to do in this world is to just go places and just walk around. I love that. That's my favorite thing. That's one reason why I loved working events so much, is because I got to go to a bunch of different places and just like walk around and like look at stuff and see what's going on at this place. I love that. That's my favorite stuff. And I haven't really been doing that lately. And so I had this moment where I was just walking through the casino, taking everything in, smiling at all the unmasked people, feeling invincible, as it were, And I just had this big old smile on my face, just this, oh, this true smile of just bubbling elation that arose on its own, just all on its own. And I haven't felt like that in a while. So it made me really happy to have that moment again, to feel alive, to feel alive. And so I'm just walking around, thought about getting a drink, but I was so tired, and honestly, I had already had a little bit of uh, some THC gummies, which I purchased legally by the way, as I am a medical card carrier. So I already had a couple edibles in my system at that point. So I was like, I'm good. I'm enjoying myself. I'm fine. And I uh, I was like, all right, I found a a machine, and I was like, maybe I will gamble. And so I go and I sit I like look at this machine because I had been wandering around trying to find one that just looked okay to me. And I found this one and it was like a penny slot. So I was like, okay, maybe I can just sit here and just spend some pennies. And it was kind of a quiet area. And I was like, okay. So I go and I look at it and I sit and I look at it and I stare and I look at all of the variety of buttons and I realize, I have no idea what I'm doing. Because it's like, I thought it would just be simple, but it's like credits. And I was like, well, I know I was playing for credits. I thought I was playing for cash. And that's when I realized that there's some sort of like credits and it's like credits, tickets, da 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 da. And I was just like, okay. And I sat there for a second, just staring at the machine. This girl is over there and I can kind of see her like eyeballing me, just being like, what the hell's wrong with this girl? She just sits down and just stares at the machine. And I'm just like, And I had this real moment with myself where I was like, well, I just sat down. Do I stand back up? Do I push a button and attempt to do a thing? And I like pull out my phone and I'm coming this close to Googling how do you use a slot machine? And then I realized I was like, you know what? No. We're not Googling that. We're just not gonna do it. I was like, you know what? What's the point? Is really what I decided. I was like, dude, okay, so you play this penny slot and you get some credits or some tickets, and then what are you gonna do with it? If you even get any. I mean, then are you gonna figure out how to use the credit machine? Then are you gonna like get one of their little slidey things? I think not. So I get up and I'm just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna keep wandering around then. So I just wander around some more and I take some aesthetic shots. They had this really cute, like moss ball looking art thing by the food area. So I took a video of that, posted that to my story and some other footage and stuff. And then I found another machine that was kind of calling to me. It was like it looked like a video game, which is kind of why I was like, is this a video game? Because it was a big old screen and it had like this golden dragon on it. And I was like, ooh, he looks awesome. And the chair was like this big old, like, I don't know, arcade looking bench thing. So I kind of sat myself down on that bench for a second and I was like, ooh, maybe I should try this one. And I was like, maybe I'll see if it looks less confusing. But then I had the same experience where I just there were too many buttons and I didn't know which one to push. So instead, I just took a video of the dragon and called that good. So as you can see, that's what I like to do for fun, apparently. When I go places, I just like to go and wander around and make an ass of myself. And have people just look at me like, what the heck is with this little lady just walking back and forth through this casino right now? I enjoyed it though. I really did. And I thought about getting a drink, but then I was like, you know what? No, I don't. I was already, like I said, I was already feeling pretty good, and I was still needing to drive, so I decided to just call it a night at that point. And yeah. So, well, I didn't call it a night at that point. I called it a night at that casino. And did I do anything else at that casino that was worth talking about? I just enjoyed myself there. I really did. And so then, after I left that casino, I went a little bit up the block and I went to another casino that I actually considered getting a room there instead of the place that I did. I kind of wish that I would have, but then again, it was more adventuresome that way. Oh, so one other thing I got to, oh, well, never mind. Bookmark that for later. Continue on with the story as it is. Um, so I go to this next casino, and honestly, it was kind of sad in there. It was a much smaller one, and it was much quieter. They had cute little, like, mm, grocery shop in there that was kind of cute, like a little mart. And it was much more quiet and much more chill in there. And they just had like country music going. I felt much more conspicuous in that one though, so I didn't stay too long just because I could feel. The other one, I was fairly anonymous, you know. There were so many people that I was just like another person. But at that one, I felt I could feel the eyes on me, basically. And I was just like, all right, well, I took a couple more aesthetic shots of some of the, some of the casino, uh, of some of the slot machines, and just wandered around. It was a much smaller one, and I was like, well, okay, well, that was exciting. Now I'm just gonna go get some McDonald's from across the street and crash for the night. And so I go walking out the casino, and as I'm walking to my car, there's like a couple drunk dudes, or one of the dudes might have was like a security person or something, I think. And as I'm walking out, this belligerent drunk man just shouts at me, girl, hey girl. And I'm just like, oh God, all right. And so I just kind of ignore him at first, and then he's like, and then he just shouts again, hey girl. And at that point, I just like turn and look at him and I go, hey, sup? And he just doesn't say anything. And I just keep walking, and I'm like, great. Did you like that, dude? What was the point of that? Like, seriously, man. I mean, I guess I will take it as a compliment that I got catcalled by a random dude, but like, I don't know. It always baffles me when guys catcall in that way specifically. You know, when it's just like shouting nothing, basically. I'm always just like, what are you doing? Are you just trying to get my attention? Because just shouting, hey, girl. Oh my gosh. I've had so many dudes shout, hey, girl at me. And it's always just like, hey, man. Hey, dude. Why are you randomly talking to me? I don't know you. And you are super drunk. Anyways, I don't know. It was okay. Like I said, I just kind of said, "Hey," kept on walking, and that was that. And then after that, he just kind of slowly shuffled inside. So, I don't know. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? I was just trying to leave. I was just trying to go to my car, man. I wasn't trying to talk to you. Sorry. Anyways, so then I get in my car. I go to the McDonald's. I get a Big Mac meal with a Coke, and I drive back to my hotel room. And at this point it's about 12:30, getting 12:30 to 1ish, somewhere in that range. And I get in bed and like I get my bag of McDonald's and I'm trying to make myself comfy and I like look and I can see there's like, oh, there's this black hair on the pillow and I'm like, freaky. I don't think they cleaned the room is all I'm trying to say. I don't think they cleaned the room before I went in there. If they did, they definitely did not change the pillowcases because the exact same black hair from the tub was also on one of the pillows. So that didn't make me feel super comfortable. To be honest, after that, I was like, oh, they clearly didn't clean this at all, did they? They probably just put new towels up and called it good, judging from the state of the pillowcases. And you know, the thing is I came this close to bringing my own pillows with me because I hear that that's usually kind of a good thing to do when you're traveling. But I was just like, whatever, it'll be. I don't want to haul my pillows with me. I should have just brought one. No, because at that point I was seriously kicking myself. I was like, gosh, dang it, why didn't I bring my own pillow? Because then I felt kind of grossed out because I was like, well, somebody was clearly just sleeping on these pillows last night. And I don't like that. That they clearly didn't wash the pillowcases. So what I did is I actually went to my car and I grabbed a blanket. I've got a few blankets that I keep in there just I don't know, just because I get cold and it's good. I figure it's good to have extra blankets around for just in case. So I grabbed a blanket and I just laid it on top of the pillows. And I was like, there you go. There's a barrier now between me and the pillows. I feel better. The pillows were like really soft and like probably like 30 years old. So they weren't super comfy, is all I'm trying to say. I stacked them up, I covered them up. And, anyways, I considered to myself, I was so creeped out by the scenario that I considered sleeping on the couch because there was a little couch. But then I walked over to the couch. Oh God, there was a literal blood stain on the couch, like a big old, not even a small one, just a big, maybe it wasn't blood, but it looked like blood. And it was just this big old blood stain. Like, and I was just like, eh, blood stain on the couch. Hairs all over everything. Oh my goodness. I wished, like at that moment, I wished I would have gone for the slightly more expensive room. But if the more expensive room would have been just as sad, I would have been super disappointed. So it's okay to have an adventure every once in a while, you know, for one night. So at that point, I'm thoroughly creeped out, and I'm just like, am I even going to be able to sleep in this room? Probably not. I have a hard time sleeping other places anyway, so I kind of had already anticipated that chances were I might not be able to sleep. So I kind of prepared for that possibility anyway. And so, so I I got my bed set up for the night and I just kind of tried to be as uncreeped out as possible, but it wasn't really working. Had my Big Mac, had my fries, had a little bit of a Coca-Cola, and I was like, you know what we should do? I was like, uh, the thing is like I never watch TV. And there had been like, yeah, I never watched TV. And I had seen some memes recently that were pretty like dismissive of television and like really looking down on people and being like, you just follow the TV, how people do that. And I felt that it was very dismissive, but I was like, well, you know what? Maybe I should watch the television. Turn into a normie. So I was like, let's. It felt like weirdly empowering to be like, you know what? Let's turn on some MF and TV right now. Let's get some TV in this girl. Yeah. I never get TV. So, it's just kind of like, so I just kind of very like turn on the TV and I'm just like, okay, let's see what TV's even about these days. Because, like, I agree, it's good to keep your brains active and everything. But I think that sometimes spiritual people can go a little bit overboard with that sort of thing, in my opinion. I don't know. I think a little bit of TV is maybe okay. uh, every once in a while, I say. And so it was a very thrilling experience, actually, because I got to see the kind of uh, um, commercials that were going on. And I gotta say, TV commercials are a million times more annoying than internet commercials. Like I thought that YouTube commercials were annoying, not compared to man. Let's talk a little bit about some of the commercials that I saw that night, just because I did have some interesting thoughts about that. Um, where, okay, one of the recurring commercials that kept coming up is ones for erectile dysfunction. I guess that late at night, that's the kind of stuff you get. And what was most fascinating to me is they had two different ED commercials. And one of that had very vastly different approaches. This is what I thought was fascinating. One of them was a guy who was basically just talking to the camera, almost YouTube video esque, just being like, hey, I've got this thing. Talked to my girlfriend about it. She was really supportive and really understanding. I didn't want her to think it was that I'm not attracted to her or that it had anything to do with my feelings. And she made me feel okay about it, and we got things figured out, was basically the tone of that one. And I thought that was actually really sweet, honestly, in a way. And then the other one had this much worse tone where it was this guy who was clearly like, oh my God. The actor looked like the life in his eyes. Like he just had this look on his face that he was just like, wow, I'm going to be known as the ED guy on the TV now. Like that was the look in his face the whole time. And that one was much more like dude like, where it was like, get it better, get it fast, we'll fix it, da da da, blah 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 blah. And I was just like, what two vastly different approaches. One was felt much more like, masculine, like it's okay, and we're still men, and we got this, dude. And the other one was kind of like, oh, softer, sensitive. And it was really interesting to me because like the dude in the sensitive one, the actor seemed far more comfortable with what was going on. Like he didn't he did not have the haunted look in his eyes that the other guy did. That's all I gotta say. And I'm just like, man, what a hard position to be in. And also, that's got to be rough, rough for dudes. And to just get such confusing, conflicting messages, you know? I do feel for men in that way. I really do. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys, that you feel so torn betwixt and between the sensitivity and the masculinity. Anyways, also there were tons of late night sexting, or not sexting, just the phone call ones, you know. There were all kinds of those. There was too many of those, and but there was almost a nostalgic quality though to the TV commercials because they had some other like normal product ones too, and I was like, man, and like infomercial type stuff, and I was like, really have like basically the same tone that they've had in the past, and I thought that was interesting. Um, so to go to bed, I was just kind of flipping through the TV and I found Karate Kid. So I decided that I was going to watch Karate Kid and eat some McDonald's, and I thought that would be real fun. And oh boy, it's been a while since I've seen Karate Kid because I did not remember like hardly anything. It was really good though, except it made me really realize you never realize how racist old movies are until you rewatch them now with our new lens and you're like, oh. Because the thing is you love Mr. Miyagi, you know, he's a great character and he's got, you know, he's one of those inspiring, you know, kind of kooky, eccentric, but wise characters, you know. And but they made a lot of Asian jokes, or at least they made a few. Like there were a few in there where I was like, oh, like there was one joke where I felt almost bad afterwards because like I didn't realize because it was he was making the 16-year-old boy drive, or that he's not 16-year-old. He's like, how old is the Karate Kid boy? Like 12? I don't know. But he was like, okay, we got to drive, and he's like, I don't have my license. He was 15 because he turned 16 and then he got his car in the movie because Mr. Miyagi gives him a freaking sweet vintage car. And why does Mr. Miyagi have so many vintage cars when he doesn't drive? That's what I want to know. He just gives one to a 15-year-old boy. Oh my goodness. Anyways, so there's this moment where he's like, you guys, like, I don't have my license, and he's like, neither do I. And I laughed at that moment because just the way that he said, responded, neither do I laughed. A racist joke about Asians being bad at driving. Wow. But it was so like subtle that I didn't realize until afterwards. And I was like, oh man. And then I just started like the translator, and I'm just like, oh boy. I think over as far as racism of past movies goes, though, I feel like Karate Kid kept it at a decent minimum for the time, I think, at least. But it's so funny to go watch old movies now because you're like, oh wow, yeah, that's really there, isn't it? The other thing that I thought was hilarious is the final battle scene is okay. I know that it's like this underdog story about the kid who, you know, he learns from the magical Mr. Miyagi, you know, so he learns these special skills, and so he's the underdog, but he can do it, you know, because he got the I was watching like the different like actors, like the actual like martial art actor kids, and I'm sorry, Karate Kid, but there is no way the Karate Kid would actually win that tournament in real life. No way. And I think that's another one of those things where when you're a kid, it's like a little more believable. And I was just like, no way, dude. No, no way would that. Because there's this one moment where there's this one where this where the karate, I can't remember his name, but the main Karate Kid and his first opponent, and his opponent is like doing all these crazy, like, yeah, 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 spin kick jumps in the air, crazy stuff. And doesn't land any, of course. He just like does these crazy acrobatics. And of course, the Karate Kid is just like, whoa, 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 doesn't get hit. And so he just kind of goes, and then he does this like really pathetic, like, yeah, just one little jump kick, and totally knocks that dude out. And I'm like, no way, man. Did that crazy, crazy kick spin display. No way. It's like, I mean, they chose the child for his acting capabilities more than his. It's just one of those moments where it's like, I'm sure as a kid, this was much more believable and thrilling. Anyways, it was good though, and it was kind of fun, and it was kind of fun to kind of watch almost like a little boys movie, and like kind of live that hero's journey in a way, kind of vicariously. I don't know. It was different. It was fun to watch the story play out from a new vantage point. Anyways, my plan was I thought I would maybe be sleepy. The thing is I was sleepy at the beginning of the movie, but then I got so into it, then that by the time it was done, I was awake. I was wide awake, and it was 3:30 in the morning at that point, and then the Three Stooges came on, and I just kind of kept that on. I was like, well, actually, I tried to turn it off so I could go to sleep, but it was so dark in the room. It was freaking me out. So I turned the TV back on, and I was like, tell you what, I'll just let the TV go, and that'll just be background noise and a little bit of light, and it'll be better. Because I, then I kept envisioning all of the ghosts that probably live in that hotel. Just couldn't sit in the dark after I was thinking of that. You look over at the mirror and you envision Ghost Girl who maybe died in the room, and it just changes the mood. And so, Three Stooges felt like a great way to kind of break up that feeling. And I just had it on really low, and I was just kind of like, just kind of trying to sleep and kind of trying to watch. And this whole like Scooby Doo esque scenario played out. Like I not really watched the Three Stooges, so or at least not in a long, long time. I can't say specifically, I can't specifically recall any sketches that I've seen other than, just little things that I've seen. But so I don't know if this was typical or if this was unusual, but it was like this almost like Scooby Doo esque scenario, like I was saying, where they were in some sort of medieval castle or something, and there was like this masked gestury dude with like one of those beaky mask faces, like a plague mask, kind of a little bit different, but it's that kind of look. And there was like the Three Stooges were all dressed up as well, and they were basically, it was just a series of I had the sound down, so I couldn't hear what they were saying because I was trying to sleep. But I could still kind of get the narrative though, and I think that that's something that's really cool about um, things like maybe slapstick or even just older media like that, where they tell the story through the actions, where they tell enough of the story through the actions that you can follow along even if you aren't really listening. And so, yeah, but there were these moments where they're just like running back and forth through the hallways, secret doors are opening and closing and shenanigans are going all over. And in the end, they unmask the villain. And I was just like, man, I didn't realize I was watching Scooby-Doo right now. And then at that point, though, the sun had started going up. So I shut it off and got a couple of hours of sleep in the lukewarm morning glow. Anyways, the next morning I wake up, I go, I'm kind of like half awake, half asleep. Checkout is at 11 and it's like 8:30 and I'm just like, well, I'm going to try to get a little more sleep. Then all of a sudden at 9 o'clock, knock, 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 knock. And I'm like, housekeeping. And I'm just like, oh, I thought it was at 11. So I get up and I'm just like, hi, I thought checkout was at 11. Sorry, I didn't get much sleep last night, so I was just trying to catch a couple Z's. And like, she's just kind of like, yeah, well, we get started early. All right, I'll come back later. And I was just like, okay, thank you. Uh, and so I am just like, okay, I think that was just like the first on the row, I think. So I think I was just unlucky that way where she was just going down the row and I just so happened to be the first one. And anyways, I'm sure plenty of people are already gone by that point or whatever. So I get up, and then after I've been awoken, I'm like, well, okay. I kind of wanted to go live in that hotel room, but I was way too tired in the night. So I just did that little 5 minute, just say hi to you guys, just because I wanted to memorialize the room, in the moment, and have a little bit of a live stream that weekend just so I could have one. So I did that really quick. I did my sync and yeah, I I drop off my key. Um, nice, nice dude at the checkout counter. I pick up some brochures for adventures, because I already had some plan for what I wanted to do that day, but I thought maybe I'd just go through, discover ghost towns and mysteries and discover adventure off the beaten path. Ooh, that sounds like something I'm into. So I picked this up just so that maybe in the future I can go ghost hunting. That sounds really cool. I do love a good ghost story. There's like this little map. There's this guy. I didn't see him when he was all lit up at night. I kind of messed up that way. I didn't go quite far enough, but saw him in the daytime. And this is kind of it's just kind of like a map, just like a map. Find your adventure. Experience the unexpected. And then they're talking about this was a different area, so I didn't really go there, but pick that up for just in case. And then this thing is just like a whole big old chonkin thing. This is what I put on the thumbnail there. I'm like, wow, that's a whole map for people that like to use maps, or I guess if there's no Wi-Fi, that would be helpful. Seeing this map just reminds me of my mom. Like, I feel like my mom right now with this map. Back when we were kids and we would go on trips and stuff, that's how you got around, like back in the day, back before there was GPS and Wi-Fi. My mom was the map holder. Now if I can hold it. All right, anyways, so I got those, and then I had little adventures planned for the day, so I started on my adventures. Woo. I've totally left my beer behind. I've been going for an hour now. Sorry, I'm so freaking long-winded. I knew it would probably get like this, but we're winding up. We're winding down. That's really good, you guys. It's like, I don't know, if you're not into like sweet peaches and cream flavor. You might not like it, but I like it. It's good. I'm glad I got more than one of those. Also, the art is cute. Just a reminder. Okay. All right, guys. So, next day. This portion is we're gonna get into some photos. So, I wonder if I have any photos that I can show you guys from the first half of the story. I bet I do. Here, we'll go through that really quick. I know I'm just showing it on my phone. I'm sorry that this is kind of dweeby, but I hope that it's maybe a little bit fun, you know. I kind of hope that these live streams almost feel a little bit like hanging out, you know. Little hangout sesh. Oh boy. There they are. Okay. I take too many photos and screenshots, you guys. Oh, jeez. All right, but I'm there. So, oh, here's those like mossy. Here's the moss balls that I was talking about from I thought were really cool and aesthetic. You see that? Look at those. Those are cool. I thought so anyway. I've got a little video. It's just a static video. I just like static videos. I've always taken them for several years now, actually. I just love a good static video. Maybe I should do that on TikTok. Maybe that's what I should use my TikTok for. I used to just always just make those little short static stories on like my Snapchat and Instagram, and I still do that, but I feel like maybe it would be better. Maybe they would be happier to live on TikTok. I'm not sure. Here's that golden dragon I was talking about. He looks pretty cool, huh? Stop. Oh, maybe I shouldn't do the sound just in case it's copyrighted. But yeah. Crystals. Because that was from that smaller casino with the country music going in the background. So that was a country song. Those were pretty aesthetic shots, I thought. Maybe I'll do something with those. I have this bad habit of, damn it, I closed it. That's okay. I have this bad habit of thinking that I'll do something with the video clips that I do and then just not. So I gotta get, perhaps I should be a bit more discerning, but whatever, man. All right. There was my room before I left. I'm going to post, I know that I haven't been posting as much on Instagram. I need to do that. I've gotten a little self-conscious and shy all of a sudden. I'll do something about that. But that was my room when I was leaving. It looked really nice and charming. So I just took some photos because it looked warm and nice. And I liked that. Oh, okay. So, okay, good. This gets me back on track, and now we're chronologically where we were in the story. Perfect. So one of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted to go to their welcome center. I know that sounds really lame, but I was like, I bet that the welcome center is really cute, and maybe they've got some like fun souvenirs or something in there, and learn about what's going on, in the area. But unfortunately, it was closed, even though online I had seen that it was supposedly open on Saturdays. But then when I actually went, it wasn't actually open. So I don't know. But it's funny because the Welcome Center was actually at this park, and I was trying to look for the Welcome Center, but I couldn't find it. And so I said to myself, well, I'll just go over to that park. And then I was like, oh, wait, I think that's it. So that's how that happened. And while I was there at the park, I noticed that there was this one of those little free libraries that they have around. And so I have started keeping at least one copy of my book, um, my little poetry zine, just on me at all times for a moment such as this, a moment where maybe I could give one to the world. I don't know. And when I saw that little free library and it, you can take a book, you can donate a book, and I was like, well, I know exactly what book I'm going to donate. So, took this little story, making a little donation to a free library. Oh, that was the wrong video. Okay, there we go. Oh, that's the wrong video too, but you can kind of hear that sound. There was a homeless gentleman, or I assume he was homeless, right there, sitting right there on like a bus bench, playing some sort of grungy music. I don't know. Part of me wondered if he went and checked out my book after I left. I don't know. I kind of hope he did, but um, yeah. He said hi. And I said hi, and that was the interaction we had. So there you go. Here's a story I made. Yeah, so that was it. Little library. And that book I put it on top of. The title of that book is Dork in Disguise. And I just thought that was a really cute, cute kids book. And I felt accustomed to it. Okay. All right. Then after that, I kind of actually, so uh, I don't know. I just went on this trip by myself just because I'm kind of a loner, and I just really wanted to go do something for myself, And my trip ended up with me. A lot of my activities for that day was me driving places and then just sitting and staring. Because there was this moment where I went and I got gas at the grocery store and used the restroom, and then I went out to the parking lot, and that was before I went there. Actually, that was before I did that library thing. And so before I went there, I just ended up sitting in the parking lot and just staring. There was this section of the road where there was some trees and then occasionally a car, and I was just sitting there and just literally staring for a good probably 20-30 minutes. And then I got to that park and I had that little moment, and then I just sat at the park and just stared for another 20-30 minutes and just stared and thought and just looked at the world Didn't really do anything. And then after I dropped that off, it's nice though. I don't know. I just wanted to sit somewhere different, man. That's all I wanted. I just wanted to sit somewhere else for a while. That's why I went on the trip. I just wanted to sit somewhere new. And the next step, I was like, well, the next thing that I had on my agenda was I wanted to go to this museum, World War II Air Force Base museum thing that they have down there. And so my plan was to go there and to get some grub at a local restaurant. And the one that I had my eye on was actually kind of close to the museum. It's called the Salt Flats Mexican Restaurant. And I was like, that sounds good. That sounds like what I wanted. And I took a photo of this sign just because I thought it was interesting. And I just thought that it was like signs of the change of the times. I don't know if you can see that, but it says, to our valued customers, your masks are welcome, but not required unless mandated by authorities at a later date. And anyways, thank you for practicing social distancing. And I just thought that was kind of interesting because there was a lot of those signs that say that, they're not required. There was this garden thing right next to it as well. There was like some trailer home things right next to the cafe, and somebody had this like rock sculpture with this little like tiki dude. So I don't know. Can you see that? Sorry about the glare. Of course, I could have edited this and put all these over top, but I'm not going to do that just because when I get my computer upgrade, I'll experiment with more stuff like that. But if I tried to do that now, I guarantee this video would never get made. So it's better for it to be made like this, I think. There was a little photo of my tacos. I got some carne asada tacos with rice and beans. It was very good. And I got a giant horchata, and it was also very good. And then I went to the museum. Here's another sign. I took another photo of the freaking sign, but this one says, because I wasn't sure if I would have to wear a mask in the museum or not. And this one said, masks are welcome and encouraged. So for that one, we did do masks in the museum. Not that I care. Like, I really don't care. Honestly, I went to the grocery store today, and a lot of people were just not wearing masks, because you don't have to anymore. But I was still wearing a mask because I wanted to. I like being in incognito mode at the grocery store, quite freaking frankly. I know I don't look like much. I know that I'm a nobody on the internet, but in my city, a lot of people actually know me. I'm actually like a figure. Like, I worked as like a promoter standing at the front of one of the popular concert venues. I worked for the one of the big local newspapers as like one of the front people, as well as doing a whole bunch of events with them. So sometimes I get a little bit exhausted, honestly. And it's just nice to be incognito sometimes. Not that everybody recognizes me, but it happens enough. I actually liked the incognito-ness of the mask. Anyways, I want to check if so anyways, I don't care though. Whatever. To me, I like I say that I'm just glad everything is coming to a close at this point, because things are just starting to feel a lot lighter, and I appreciate that. People aren't so mad at each other anymore. So, okay. First stop that I made at the museum. There was this nice little older lady. She was really cute, that was running the front desk. and she's just really funny. And there was like this video that they had running, and she's like, I'll start the video for you when you're ready. So she was really nice. And I went to the powder room. So I kind of wish that I could have gone into the men's room. Honestly, maybe I could. No, I probably shouldn't have. But they have little special tidbits in the women's room, and I just wondered what the tidbits in the men's room were. Because I actually did read most of the signage in the museum. Maybe that's a little weird, but so the ladies' room, they had this little sign. So I'm just going to read it to you guys. Powder room. This room was for ladies to freshen up their hair and makeup. It was nicely decorated and a place girls could go to catch their breath. I don't know what's with all the quotes. Wallpaper, such as these samples, were used to decorate the powder room. Look closely at the picture for an idea of how it might have been. These two wallpaper samples are from United Wallpaper Co. and Union made in the US 1930s to 40s era. The wallpaper is washable and fade proof. And they had a couple samples of the wallpaper. There they are. Okay. So that was the original wallpaper. They just had it like framed, you see. So yeah, that was the original wallpaper of the powder room of the air base for the ladies. Pretty cool, I thought. And I thought it was kind of cute that they focused on some of the more feminine aspects. This was the sticker they gave me. Historic Wendover Airfield. Sorry. I just want to make sure I said that right. And I just plopped it like that. So I'm going to put that on there for now because that's how it was when I was there. All right. I don't know if you were supposed to do that, but I did. Probably didn't matter. I took a little selfie in this cute little mirror that they had. Look at that like golden retro looking thing. So this, in one of the main areas of the airfield base, this is a replica of a nuclear bomb. It's actually the smaller because I learned that they had two different ones that they used in World War II. This one was the smaller one that they called Little Man, I believe. I think I took, yeah, Little Boy, sorry. The name of this one was Little Boy Atomic Replica. Little Boy Atomic Bomb Replica. Can you read that? And then the other one, the bigger one, is called Fat Man. And I thought that was very interesting that, of course, like that seems so American. You name your bombs Little Boy and Fat Man. What are we, gangsters? Jeez. We kind of are gangsters, aren't we, Americans? Ah, jeez. But I just think it's hilarious that they give them almost these kind of cutesy names, Little Boy and Fat Man. It almost like, I don't know. Like I said, it's very American of us. It's very American. Let me see. So that was a replica of the smaller one. Let me see if there's anything interesting to read to you guys. The bomb you see here is an exact replica of Little Boy because of its smaller size in relation to Fat Man bomb. The approximate stats for Little Boy were weight 9,700 pounds, length 10 feet, diameter 28 inches, nuclear fuel enriched uranium, explosive yield 1,500 tons of TNT, dropped on Hiroshima, Japan, August 6, 1945. Blast effects. And that was another thing that was kind of like weird for me, honestly, was reading about these bombs that we dropped on other people and the way that I don't know, in this museum, it was, of course they're going to put it in a positive light, but I was just kind of like, man, it made me feel a little weird, to be honest, that I was like, wow, here I am at this museum and looking at these bombs that just really destroyed a nation, killed a lot of people. And yeah, it was just memorialized. Gives me a lot to think about. I know that war is complicated, but it was that was one reason why I wanted to go too, was because I honestly, history was never really my favorite subject growing up, just because I mean, history is interesting, but I was always, it stressed me out when I was a kid because I was not very good at remembering the names of the people and the dates of this stuff. And that's like what you need for like the tests and things. So I because of that, I never really liked the history portion of school, and it really stressed me out because I just had a hard time remembering those specific details. And I still do um, sometimes have a hard time recalling specific names and like dates and things like that. I'm much better at remembering concepts, you know, things like that, rather than specific nitpicky dates and details. Um, so I so for me, that's not usually what I focus on, anyways. Although those things are helpful. So I just kind of wanted to go and just like learn a little bit and yeah, I just thought it would be interesting. So here's the intro of the video that she played. There's the other room with the videos.
Brave men and women have defended our freedom, sacrificing their hopes, dreams, youth, even their very lives. Some of the most poignant images of courage arise from the ashes of World War II, when thousands of women answered the call to arms with a patriotic voice. Brave men and women have defended our freedom, sacrificing their hopes.
Now, if that doesn't sound like propaganda, I don't know what does. But that's just like the tone that they used back in the day, wasn't it? That's just how it was. Historic Wendover airfield. And yeah, it was a pretty interesting video. They did very much, I feel like the whole thing did very much romanticize war a little bit, but the thing that I appreciated about it is that it did give the human element to these soldiers for me. It gave kind of a face and a livelihood to this very abstract idea of war. And in that video, like there was actually a lot of interesting stuff. It talked a lot about like the base that I was on and what it used to be like, and honestly, they made it sound almost spa-esque, and I feel like they're still doing that this very day. Actually, in America, trying to make the army seem really like the chill place to be, I guess. Um, because yeah, they have uh, in that video they talked about how one of the things is they talked about all of the great amenities and stuff that they had on the base, including like a bowling alley and swimming pools and mess halls and chapel. And it's like its own little community. It's like its own little village, really. And I thought that was super interesting, just envisioning all of the soldiers, going around to the different and living their lives and having this like little enclosed sort of, yeah, little village thing. I thought that was really interesting. I didn't realize that it was like that. I guess I had no idea what it was even like. They sure made it sound nice. Here's a send thirst flying. Some vintage Coca-Cola ad. They're still doing that kind of stuff to this day. In fact, a streamer that I follow showed a clip recently of a current US Army advertisement that was very much, similar sort of just like, yeah, it was animated and it was just girl power type stuff, same kind of stuff as this. So I guess they haven't really changed their tactics, have they? Just the coat of paint on top of it, I suppose. I don't know who this guy was. He was some general or another. I just took the photo of him because I thought his quote was interesting. The quote under this guy's photo, I guess his name is Paul Tibbets, is this was for apple pie, merry-go-rounds, Christian families, and the opportunity to live out our dreams in the America we love. Man, that was such the rhetoric of the day. Whenever I hear that kind of stuff, it reminds me of BioShock Infinite. They got that rhetoric down real good. It was for apple pie, merry-go-rounds, Christian families, and the opportunity to live out the American dream. All right. Here we have like this was kind of like a little replica thing of like the base and planes. That one is kind of sad. That's what it looks like when they drop a bomb. That was just a test photo, but that's pretty crazy, that destruction there. That was just a test bomb. Let's see the bombs. Little boy, as uranium and plutonium were mined and refined around the country to provide the fissile material needed for an atomic weapon, two different designs were created to best utilize the available materials. The two designs were a gun type called Little Boy and an implosion type called Fat Man. I think that's interesting, a gun type versus implosion type. And I think it's really interesting to actually, I'm going to show this to you guys just so you can kind of see the difference of what the internal casings look like. That's Little Boy. And it does look almost like not that I know that much about this stuff, but it looks almost gun barely with where you can kind of see how it would propel outwards, the way that a gun does. You can see the one bit where there's like where you would imagine gunpowder, and you can kind of see that. They probably don't use, do they? I guess that they say that this has the explosive power of 15 kilos of TNT, but I guess I don't know if that means there was actual gunpowder in there. That's Fat Man though. Very different look going on there. Like, look at that. Such a different internal mechanism to the other one. And that really fascinated me because yeah, I didn't realize that such different technologies. So that one's more of an implosion type. I guess it like, I don't really know how it works, I guess. I envision like an implosion, like it crushing in on itself and then creating destruction somehow. Little Boy was a gun type bomb that weighed 9,700 pounds. Fission was accomplished by shooting a hollow cylinder of enriched uranium, the bullet, onto a solid cylinder of the same material, the target, by means of a charge of nitrocellulose propellant powder. Explosive yield of Little Boy was equivalent to 15 kilos of TNT. As for Fat Man, an implosion weighed 10,300 pounds. In the implosion type device, a core of subcritical plutonium is surrounded by several thousand pounds of high explosive composition B designed in, several thousand pounds of high explosive designed in such a way that the explosive force of the high explosive is directed inwards, thereby crushing the plutonium core into a supercritical state. What does that mean? Subcritical plutonium crushed into a supercritical state. Explosive yield of Fat Man was equivalent to 21 kilotons of TNT. Okay, so got a little extra power there. So yeah, I just took a picture of that because I thought it was kind of cool. Here's some more flyers for some stuff of the time. Dun, 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 dun. That was an engine. That's like an engine. I just thought it looked cool. Let's see. Here's some more. We're going to get into some Nicky Knacks. Here's some. I probably won't show you guys all of these unless because it's kind of hard to see. But that was like a lamp made out of some bullet things. This one's a serviceman's illustrated journal, which I thought was really nice. Of course, I had to take a photo of that. This journal belonged to Vessel O. Reed of Dallas, Texas. Reed joined USAAF June 27, 1942. This particular journal is titled Private Dokes and Me. It has illustrations and writing prompts to encourage a service member to record their experiences. It's kind of funny that there's always been like writing prompts and journals and stuff. That's kind of what it looked like. I know that is hard to see. I do apologize. I wonder if I can get a better close-up of that. That's like an army guy, and he's got like an illustration where he's with a doctor getting some injections. There we go. That one's a bit better. And the quote says, "Bombs in the future and shellfire hot, they won't phase Joe. He survived his first shot." That's kind of my inspiration, guys, is like that kind of like illustration poetry stuff that used to just be all over the place. I love that stuff. Here we have an Army songbook. And they did a couple of different variations of the song, which I thought was kind of interesting. Army Songbook 1941. This book was compiled by the Adjutant General's Office in collaboration with the Library of Congress. Offered by the Army to boost camaraderie and morale, this compilation featured patriotic music, songs of the military branches, popular music, and campfire type songs that the service members could sing together. Some of the songs in the book even included parody lyrics, which I think is kind of fun, honestly. The song below offers a prime example of adapting lyrics for the military life. This song, name of the song is KKK Katie, which I'm kind of a little not sure about their use of three Ks in that. I don't know if that was purposeful or not. But the song goes, Katie, beautiful Katie, you're the only good girl I adore. When the moon shines over the cowshed, I'll be waiting at the kitchen door. Kitchen door. And the parody lyrics go, KKKKP, dirty old KP. That's the only army job that I abhor. When the moon shines over the guardhouse, I be mopping up the kitchen floor. I guess that's what kitchen duty, I guess. About girls, songs about the big stink Dave's dream thermos. Special thermoses used to keep coffee hot at high altitudes. Hmm. Now this is something that gave me a kind of made me think. I'm not sure if it's in good taste or not, but they had this section called where they featured. Okay, I'm just going to read this to you. Sadako Sasaki's paper crane. Throughout history, wars have left destruction, military and civilian casualties, and unresolved differences. Following the bitter conflict in the Pacific Theater during World War II, the United States and Japan eventually resolved their conflicts and today are allies despite the scars of war. Sadako Sasaki was a young victim of the Hiroshima bombing, and yet she exhibited hope for the future in an innocent and optimistic way. She folded over 1,000 paper cranes, hoping for the ancient Japanese legend of good fortune being granted to someone who completes this task. Her origami paper crane is offered as a symbol of peace and reconciliation between the two countries. In her passing, she has inspired perhaps millions to hope and work for a better future. This exhibit is presented as neither an apology nor condemnation of actions by either country during World War II, but rather a hope for nations to resolve conflicts without having to resort to wars and the inevitable devastation. So I know they threw that little caveat in the end there, but even so, the inclusion of such, I'm glad that they did include some sort of a record of the other side, I suppose. Of course, it seemed, in my mind, of course, it's going to be this kind of a story about a young girl survivor making the paper cranes. And it is beautiful. It is beautiful. Maybe this is just the jaded part of me, but I can't help but feel like it's the kind of thing they'd stick on the evening news to make you feel better about the terrible, terrible destruction of a situation, you know? It has that kind of a feel to me, but I don't know. I think it's beautiful, and I think it's sad. And I'm not entirely sure how to digest or think about the inclusion in this way, you know? If it's in poor taste or not, I'm not sure, but it definitely made me stop and think, though. Yeah. What do you think of that? Maybe you've got more thoughtful thoughts than me here in the moment. There's also a thing with Norse code. I took a photo of that reference for Morse code since I'm definitely going to be looking through my photos to find that. Here's just, I don't know, I just kind of started a uniform. You can kind of see me in the thingy. They had like this piano, this retro piano book on like an old piano that they said they were going to try to fix. Okay, this is another moment that really was a special moment for me at the museum, where um, this woman here, Elaine Nelson Pearson, was a, let's see, so 29th of May, that was her birthday, 1926 to, no wait, yeah, yeah, 1926 to 28 October of 1972. Pearson was a corporal in the U.S. Marine Corps Women's Reserve during World War II. This is the dress uniform she wore during her time at the service, donated by Linda Tucker. So here is Elaine Nelson Pearson, and she had her own kind of, she was kind of hidden up in this upper bit. She had her own little section though. And I spent several minutes with her because I don't know, I feel like there are these moments where you can almost connect and like feel the spirit behind the person. Like I felt that way at different other museums. Like I went to a Pompeii before the world shut down. I actually went to this Pompeii exhibit that had some very similarly just like some moments where you can feel the past there with you. I don't know how else to explain other than it's it's like you're there with them even though they're gone, even though it's the past. It's there with you in the moment. That's kind of how I felt with her. Looking at her, that's her. And she was kind of the model for this art, be a Marine. Yeah, I was like, wow. She looks so cool in that art. I gotta say, it kind of because just sitting there almost inspired me to want to join the army. And this was her actual uniform. And I just stood and I just looked at the uniform that she wore. And I looked at that photo of her and that art of her. And I stood there at this portion for several minutes and just took it in. And I just thought her outfit was I just thought it was so interesting and they even put a little bag on her. I just thought it was so interesting that they keep that they still had to keep the feminine style, you know. They still had to keep the feminine style. And I thought that was interesting, you know. And cuz part of me is like, well, why? Why would a soldier need to be in a dress? Part of me thinks. But then at the same time, I'm like, why not? Why not? So I had several moments with her. And there's her shoes. I don't remember if I just showed you that, but I just thought she just had even little shoes, you know. Let's see. Here was their air tower. Looks pretty sick, right? Historic Wendover Airfield, 1942, World War II control tower restoration. Made possible by a generous grant from the Hugh and Michelle Harvey Family Foundation. That's the little plaque there. Then I went in this little army base shack. Some little knickknacks, some buttons, and little things. Let's see. Here's some model airplanes that I just thought looked pretty cool. It reminded me of my grandpa, actually, which is why my great grandpa, great late great grandpa, who actually was a pilot in World War II, actually. And he had a bunch of these things. He had a bunch of model planes that he kept in his basement. And yeah, it was a little museum in his basement. It really was. He had all kinds of memorabilia and all of these like model airplanes. I only went down there a couple of times in my life because it was kind of his private space, but yeah, seeing those planes reminded me of him. Here's another dress. I just had to take a photo of the clothing and the army ladies just because I thought it was interesting. That one was a person. Here was something else that I thought was. I know that this is getting a little long winded, but I am almost done, guys. I promise. I promise. This was interesting because this was actually a cot, um, an actual cot. And oh, wait, no, I was thinking of the other one. I was going to say it had blood on it, but no, I was thinking of this one. That one was actually a hospital cot. What are those things called? The thing you carry them. One of those. Anyway, it has blood on it, which I thought was kind of cool. That's why I took a photo of that. Let me zoom in it because it has actual blood from the past. And I just was like, wow, that's pretty interesting that that is the blood of war right there. So let's see if there's anything else interesting. Cool old phone. Much like that story of Sadako that I just read a bit ago, this story has like that similar kind of feel where it's kind of a sad moment. Okay, World War II Japanese officer's sword donated by the Hlanka family. Edward F. Hlanka born October 1st, 1916, was a member of the Army Medical Corps during World War II. Edward F. Hivlanka was stationed in the Philippines. While there, he survived the infamous Bataan Death March, where the Japanese forced some 76,000 prisoners to march forward along a route of death. 12,000 Americans and the rest were Filipino. Surviving the march, Edward then spent 3 years as a POW in a Japanese prison camp where he contracted malaria and beriberi, where when he returned to the U.S., he brought this Japanese officer's sword and never spoke of how the sword came into his possession. So I just took a photo of that sword because I thought that story was interesting. But once again, same thing where I kind of feel very odd that we have this artifact actually. To me, it just seems, I don't know, it seems a little in poor taste or something, but I thought that that was an interesting story, mostly just because he never spoke of how the sword came into his possession. All right, and like I said, I'm almost done. Just a couple more things I wanted to share with you guys. I didn't intend for this to go as this long, but I knew it had the possibility. All right, so I posted this on my TikTok. So if you want to see a better version of this, then go check it out. So there's this, as you can see, there's this plane that's kind of just on the base. It's gutted and it's just kind of there as a you know, just a model. Well, it's not a model, it's an actual plane, but it's there. It's there. And I had this very magical moment there inside of this plane. So this is on TikTok if you want to see a better version of this and hear the sounds better. And there's in the cockpit up there. So that was like, ooh, I had a crazy experience in here where there's a photo. Oh, where it was just me and there was just all of this. It was a very windy day and just those sounds just inside of the shell of that plane, it just created this otherworldly experience in there, is all I can say about that. Just this otherworldly, echoey, it just created this sound bowl that was, it was amazing. It was amazing. And I felt so connected with history once again. Um, I probably spent 30 minutes in there just by myself, just listening to the wind. And I got up into the pilot's cockpit area and I like sat up there and I, um, you know, turned the wheel and man, it was just amazing. That was a holy experience. Honestly, it was stunning, utterly stunning. I just Here's some like bird feathers hanging off of the thing that I just thought was kind of funny. Some birds probably live in there. Just kind of a nice little sound effect, you know? Why? Don't do this to me. Sorry, my phone's freaking out at me. Oh my freaking gravy. Okay. Okay. I just want to show you guys a couple more videos of this place because it's just really cool. And here is just like a little static moment that I took of just the door, and I won't let us make us watch the whole thing, but. And here was kind of like I don't know what you call that part of the plane, but that's the bit that like opens up and you like jump out, and that's the bit where like the bomb would fall out of, whatever that thing is called. Oh my fucking Jesus, man. Okay. Oh, sorry. I was trying not to swear on this, and then one just snuck in there. Hopefully it's far enough at the end that nobody will notice. And here's another video of me just at the top. Just getting a view of the. I'm going to post some of these photos to Instagram as well. So, or at least that's the plan. Here's me with. Yeah, pilot wheel. Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh, one thing that did super disappoint me though is there was some graffiti. There was one graffiti, gnome. Shame, gnome. You don't graffiti on history, dude. Come on, man. But he is forever memorialized on that World War II aircraft now. So good job, gnome. Hope you feel good about yourself. And yeah, well, oh, I did forget one funny story from before I actually entered into the museum. So, as I said, I was kind of sitting and just staring a lot. This trip, I was just kind of sitting and staring in a lot of places. So before I actually went into the museum, I was just kind of sitting in the parking lot and staring. And while sitting and staring at the building in the parking lot, I got out for a minute because I was gonna go in, but then for some reason I got back in my car to do something, but I had locked my door, and then I tried to like unlock the door while I was in it, and for some reason my phone or my car started freaking out, man. It started panicking, and I was trying to hit the panic button, because it was just like it was super embarrassing because I was just sitting in there and I'm just like, well, my car is just like, brr, 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 brr. And I'm just like, there's some people in like a trailer over there, and I'm just like, oh God, why? And I'm just like, why won't it stop? Why won't it stop? And I'm like Googling like, why won't my panic button stop on my Honda Fit? And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And so I'm like trying to watch a YouTube video, and then this older gentleman, like knocks on my window, and he's like, hit the panic button on your thing. And I'm like, I'm trying, it's not working. And he's like, oh, well, I figure I always do that all the time, accidentally hit the button. And I'm just like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know why this is happening. This has never happened before, but I'm pretty sure it's because I locked the door while I was outside of it, but then I didn't close the door all the way. And I went back and I sat back inside. And then when I was inside, I unlocked the door while I was inside. So I think that my car thought some shenanigans was going on. Anyway, it did stop eventually, but it was very awkward. I did have a nice interaction with that human though, so that was nice. He was very friendly. And it's been a minute since I've had a random friendly interaction like that, so it was good. And oh, I did want to say, as far as human interactions at that Salt Flat Cafe, I feel like I missed a photo that I didn't show you guys of that one. But same deal where everybody was like really, really nice. Oh, yeah, I did miss some photos of that cafe here. Aesthetic shot. And you know what's funny is like, I know that this photo makes it look like the place was empty, but that was like there were people, even though they had a thing about like social distancing, there was people all over the place in there. Like it was a packed house. And that was I caught that photo in the 30 seconds where where they were switching one guest to the next guest. And so I just got this little aesthetic photo real quick. uh, yeah, and it was just nice to see everybody together. And then at one point, a police officer came in, and this group of kids was all excited, and he gave them all a bunch of like stickers, and it was just really cute. You know, it was really nice to get some just human moments like that on the trip. So, after I had that, oh, so in back to that plane. After I exited the plane, like I had this beautiful magical experience in there where the sound is just lovely. And as I exited, I had just as transcendental as of an experience because as you exited the plane, it was like stepping into like this space of silence in comparison because it was so like echoey and loud and contained in there that you walk out and you feel it just was like whew, this clarity of nature, you know, this clarity. And the crickets were chirping and it was beautiful. It was really beautiful. And I'm so glad that I did that. You know, maybe that sounds boring and dumb, but maybe it sounds silly, but that was worth the trip for me. That was wonderful. That was beautiful. That was amazing. And then I did have one more story for you guys on the trip, on the drive home, that I thought was a magical moment. So on the drive home, um, I decided that I was going to listen to, since I've been obsessed with Porter Robinson's Nurture album lately, that was actually the album I was looking for earlier. I figured I probably wouldn't find it, but I was hopeful. Didn't happen. But I decided that for the drive home that I was just gonna throw YouTube on and listen to the live set of that album, and that was gonna be my drive home music. Um, I was like, it doesn't matter if I use legs, it'll be fine for half of the journey. I don't care. So I played that, and so on the drive home, I played that live set, and at the what's it called? Secret Sky, the Secret Sky Nurture set for Porter Robinson. So I played that, and I was just having this beautiful experience. I was feeling really good. And remember earlier when I told you about how it's plains, just salt flats, salt plains, just dirt for miles as far as the eye can see, except for this one section. Do you remember that? Well, as I was driving home, there's this one song that's probably my favorite on the album. It's hard to say. It's one of my favorites, at least. And the song is called Unfolds. And I've just been really feeling that song in the core of my gut lately. Like I just am feeling it. And the lyrics of the chorus go, as I watch the water unfold, it's a feeling I want you to know, um, that I'm not the same as I was as I shoulder the weight of the world. And that's definitely a vibe I've been feeling as I watch the water unfold. It's a feeling I want you to know, that I'm not the same as I was as I shoulder the weight of the world. And that song, like in the live set, it kind of, there's like this part that kind of builds up to it and then it kind of goes into the song and the chorus. And so it had kind of built up to it. And like right at that moment where that chorus is starting and it says, and you watch the water unfold, I'm not kidding you. That was the exact moment that that section of water where the salt flats turn from sand to water. And it was that exact moment from the switch over where it says, as I watch the waters unfold, and it was just whoosh. I'm not gonna lie, guys, I had freaking chills after that experience in the plane with the sounds and the calm and the crickets, and then that moment where it was just so perfectly timed, where it was this crescendo moment and the water was unfolding, and as the chorus about the water unfolding was unfolding, and it was a perfect unfoldment and I loved it. And then a little while later I had another moment I wanted to share with you, where there was a man who he had his semi parked off on the side of the road, and I caught this perfect moment, this another perfect moment where as I'm driving by, this man is just out in the salt flat fields and I can see him. He's just, and the moment that I passed by, he had just picked up this whole, like two fistfuls of this like salt, of just this raw salt, flat salt in his hands. And I could see that he was holding this mound of salt in his hands. And he had this enormous smile on his face, with this big old smile and these hands full of salt. And he just looked like he was in pure bliss. He seemed so pleased with himself. And that was just another moment that just really touched me, because it was just those series of moments, the plane, the unfolding, and then this man just holding these fistfuls of salt up as if they were gold, you know? Yeah. It was a spontaneous trip and it was kind of a silly one, maybe. But I knew that I needed to take the trip. I wasn't entirely sure why, but when I think back of all of those little moments of like elation and, you know, transcendentalism, you know, these transcendental moments where it almost feels like you've touched something beyond, you know? And it's been a minute since I felt like that. But I felt like that again and again on my trip. And I have some special memories now that I'll always have. And you'll always have them now too. I'm very glad that I shared them with you. I know it was a bit long winded, so I appreciate your patience and I appreciate you listening to me for this long. I hope you got something out of it, and I hope it was as fun for you as it was for me to tell it to you. before I go, I'll think if there's any last thoughts I wanted to tell you, just to make sure you get the full story. Hmm. The only other thing I can think of is that there's a strange tree. There's a strange tree. It's an art piece just in the middle of the salt flats. I didn't get a photo of it. I didn't see it on my drive there because it was dark, but on the drive back, I saw it and it was on the other side of the road. And it's just this strange, bubbly looking tree. It's a sculpture of a tree with bubble like branches. And I just think it's so strange that humans thought they should put that there, you know. There are actually maybe when I go back, I'll have to, or go somewhere else, I'll have to check some things out because there's actually quite a few interesting artifacts I discovered. Uh, well, that I did not that I discovered, that I read about online. Um, uh, in the desert and in the salt flats, all kinds of like interesting art installations and stuff. And that's one of them. Maybe next time I'll get a better picture of it and I'll share it with you. Humans are such funny creatures, you know. We've created such a funny little world for ourselves. And I love it. All right. So I just wanted this to be a bit of a monologue story today. So thank you for listening. And yeah. I'm not the same as I was, guys. I'm not the same as I was. Went to a whole new state to start a whole new state. And I've got some more travel coming up soon. In fact, in June. So you should see me before then, but I'll be sure to do something similar for that trip as well. I plan to take some other footage as well and see what kind of content I make from there. This is kind of an experimental phase of my channel and figuring out what I'm about. So look forward to that and a new trip in a few weeks. Sorry, guys, that probably looked a little dramatic. I just always like to end on like a good note. So see if I wrote anything good in my journal, in my diary. Did I write anything about that? Contemplating. You know, I don't think that I actually wrote anything about this because I think I was just going to tell you about it. So I'm sorry for a little bit of losing steam here at the end. So instead of reading my thoughts, I'll just thank you one more time for listening and end it with a lyric that means something to me, perhaps. As I watch this life unfold, it's the feeling I want you to know, that I'm not the same as I shoulder the weight of my own world. Thanks for being here in it. See you next time.